We're a country of car lovers, and we all want something a little different from everyone else. If you've got millions of dollars to spare, then we've got the cars for you. And a voiceover guy that'll do your very own GPS navigation totally unique, only $1 million. From a vehicle fit for royalty to one no one else owns, here are 15 of the most expensive and rare cars of all time. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos every day. That being said, let's begin. Number 15. Captain Nemo Nautilus Car. If this six-wheeled car looks familiar to you, then it's probably from the TV screen. As one of two ever made and the only complete running car, it's easily one of the most expensive and rare cars of all time, even if it's not road legal. The car featured in Stephen Norrington's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, with Sean Connery behind the wheel as he chased down Moriarty. The vehicle was also prominent in promotional material for the film as well. In the film, two versions of the car were used in production, which is why two exist. The first was a fully running version, while the second had an attached scaffold for the film crew to achieve close-up actor shots. Even though the car was never for any other purpose than the film, they didn't skimp on the detailing. It's based on the Land Rover Fire Tender and has a steel frame paired with a Rover V8 engine. It has six 28.5-inch wheels, a fiberglass body, and hydraulic wheels for clearance. The detailing of this vehicle is out of this world, making it a desirable collector's piece. From the headlight and detailing to represent Ganesha, a Hindu god, to the custom trim and faux leather in the interior, what's not to love? There's also a silver band around the seats and an ivory body tone with a worn gold finish. Automotive enthusiasts were given an opportunity to own this piece of film history after it went up for auction in 2015. Number 14. 1968 Ford GT40 Golf. If you had a spare $11 million floating around, then you could have been the proud owner of a 1968 Ford GT40 Golf. But why such an expensive price tag for a seemingly ordinary car? Well, because this is no ordinary car. It's a race car with an interesting history to get any automotive enthusiast's heart racing. When the car was sold at auction in Monterey, it became the most expensive American car ever sold at auction. It was the camera car for the 1971 Le Mans film with Steve McQueen behind the wheel, and has several race wins under its belt by world-renowned racing car drivers. The Ford GT40 Golf started life as a powder blue and marigold Mirage, where it took out the race win in Spa in 1967 with endurance racers Jackie Ickx and Dick Thompson behind the wheel. When FIA regulations changed the following year, it was transformed into a GT40. It then competed in Monza, Sebring, and Daytona, and set a lap record of 3 minutes and 35.4 seconds at the Le Mans trials. Many people will also remember this car as the second place taker at Watkins Glen, and when it achieved a 6th position on the Nürburgring circuit. It gained plenty of first places throughout its racing history, but it also achieved firsts in other areas too. It was the first of 3 GT40s for the JWA Golf team, and boasted unique features such as a lightweight frame and roof, and Stage 2 ventilated disc brakes. This car was truly one of a kind. Well, one of 3, and is deserving of its $11 million price tag. Number 13. 1998 McLaren F1 LM. A team led by Ron Dennis and Gordon Murray wanted nothing less than the best for a car. It had to be sleek, stylish, but most importantly, fast. They put pen to paper and came up with the McLaren F1 LM. And what a car it was. You'll soon come to realize why one sold in 2015 for nearly $14 million. In 1998, a McLaren F1 with an XP5 chassis reached speeds of 240.14 miles per hour. That very speed broke the record at Germany's Irrlissine Proving Ground to become the world's fastest road-going production car. The McLaren was faster than the previous record holder, a Jaguar XJ220, by nearly 30 miles per hour. It would continue to hold the record for the next 7 years, but even now, the McLaren F1 is the fastest production car with natural aspiration. The McLaren F1 was always supposed to be a road car, but it was a weapon on the track. In the Le Mans 24-hour event, it took a clean first place in 1995. Okay, so it's a fast car and it's pretty cool, so why the multi-million-dollar price tag? Well, from the 3-seater cabin to the butterfly doors, this vehicle is pure class, but it's also rare. With LM specifications, there are only 2 such cars in existence. The standard McLaren F1 can bag a cool $10 million price tag, but the LM version is worth half that again. You'll be unlikely to see this car, let alone own it. Number 12. 1970 Porsche 917. If you want to send goosebumps up the arms of a car enthusiast, then utter 2 words: Le Mans. Their eyes will sparkle, there might be a bit of drool, and their minds will get to work thinking of all the brilliant cars to have taken part in the world-famous Le Mans endurance race. One such car is a 1970 Porsche 917. The famous Gulf Orange and Blue Porsche sold at the renowned Pebble Beach auction for over $14 million, and it was worth every penny. It was the test car in Le Mans and was then the star car in Steve McQueen's Le Mans film. It was subsequently sold and never seen again until years later. Roll the clock forward 2 decades, and the lovely Porsche resurfaced from a barn in 2001. It underwent a full restoration by Swiss specialists Graber Sports Garage with all original pieces and was packed off to auction to bring another car owner much joy. And joy it would bring. From the Fiat 12 engine that was like music to your ears, to the famous blue and orange color scheme courtesy of Gulf, the Porsche 917K was a work of art. It, therefore, had the price tag of one. Who knows what it'll likely be worth in the future. Number 11. Bugatti Type 41 Royale Kellner Coupe. Think you're the master of parallel parking? Then get behind the wheel of a Bugatti Type 41 and see what you can do. The Bugatti Coupe, also known as the Royale, is a 21-foot car with a 14-foot wheelbase. It's one of the most luxurious cars ever made, but also one of the largest. Ettore Bugatti had big plans, but maybe not as big as the car he made. He wanted to create 25 models of the Bugatti Coupe and sell them to royalty. Instead, he made 7 and could only sell 3. 1 was destroyed in a wreck, and 6 are on display in museums. At the time, you could say the Bugatti Type 41 was a flop, but the Royale Kellner model is now worth nearly $10 million. It has one of the largest car engines at 4.6 feet long by 3.6 feet high, and it was created in a single big block. Even with such a massive engine, the high-quality chassis meant it was well-balanced and handled like a dream. Ettore planned to give one of the cars to the Spanish king Alfonso in 1928, but then the king was deposed. He didn't sell any more until 1932, and he launched the car for sale at the worst possible time. The Great Depression of the 1930s hit, and with a price tag of $30,000, it didn't garner a lot of attention. It was also never sold to any royals, as was his plan from the beginning. The Kellner model, which was sold for $9.7 million, was kept by Bugatti until it was sold to Domino's pizza owner Tom Monahan in 1991. Since then, replicas have been made and sold. You may recognize the Panther de Ville, which is a Bugatti that became Cruella de Vil's car in the 1996 Disney film 101 Dalmatians. There's no likelihood that vehicles of this one size will ever be mainstream again. Its sheer size makes it unsuitable for most grocery store car parks and even homeowner driveways and garages. Number 10. 1962 Aston Martin DB4 GT Zagato. Vehicle manufacturers throughout time have always pushed the boundaries. They want to not only be better than their greatest rivals, but to be the best. The classic Aston Martin versus Ferrari fight portrays this better than most. The two car manufacturers went head-to-head in 2 ways: during the World Sports Car Championship and in the showroom. They wanted to produce road-going cars that were out of this world to likely fund their race cars. Once Aston Martin beat Ferrari in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1959, they had the bug. They enlisted the services of coach builder Carrozzeria Zagato to produce an attractive and competitive car that would be even better than their near unbeatable DB4 GT. The result was the DB4 GT Zagato. The new car, with fluid lines and a sleek, modern look, was unveiled at the London Motor Show in 1960. It was undeniably a work of art, and Zagato had hit the nail on the head. It had a beautiful grille, elongated front, and a design that screamed Aston Martin. Given that there were only 19 ever built, and with handcrafted aluminum, there's no questioning why this car would sell for $14.3 million. Number 9. 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California SWB Spyder. Car auction pre-estimates are never all too wrong, but the 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California SWB Spyder was an exception to that rule. In 2016, this standout vehicle sold for over $17 million, over $1 million more than its estimate for the Amelia Island auctions. Okay, so it's a Ferrari and it's worth a lot, but why this much? Most people will recognize this car from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but it's no replica, it's the real deal. It's one of 56 ever made, and one of only 37 with covered headlights. That makes it pretty unique. What's more, in its 55-year history, this particular car was the first to ever be sold to the general public. People like what they can't have, and bidding went crazy. Selling for $17.16 million, it topped Gooding's List and Amelia Island's as well. It's unlikely that we'll ever see this car come up for sale again anytime soon. Number 8. 1955 Jaguar D-Type. Emblazoned with the blue and white of the Scottish flag, the 1955 Jaguar D-Type sure was an attractive car when it took to the Le Mans grid. It was also a powerhouse and had all the makings of a race-winning car. It made its debut at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1954. But it was not off to a great start. All 3 Jaguars had firing problems, and 2 D-Types retired from the race. It wasn't Jaguars here, but they didn't let that deter them. With fine-tuning and top drivers such as Écurie Ecosse behind the wheel, it went on to win the Le Mans race in 1955, 1956, and 1957. It's of little wonder, then, that this Jaguar D-Type sold for a whopping $21,780,000 in 2016 at RM Sotheby's Monterey to become the most expensive British vehicle to sell at auction. Number 7. 1939 Alfa Romeo 8C 2900B. Lamborghini and Ferrari have produced some stunning Italian cars over the years, and they have more than made a name for themselves. But what about Alfa Romeo? While the manufacturer is still producing classy cars, its pre-war selection was thought to be the creme de la creme of Italian class and elegance. Perhaps that's why this 1939 Alfa Romeo 8C 2900B sold for $18.9 million at auction. It took the buyer back to a time when Alfa Romeo was leading the pack. People love nostalgia. The Touring Berlinetta, as it was known, was designed with a chassis not all dissimilar from an 8C35 Grand Prix car, and racing was very much in the mind of the designers. It had a 2.9-liter inline-8 engine and superchargers to tie the package together. It was also paired with a beautiful body that would get everyone talking. Only 5 of this car were ever built, so for one to go up for auction is remarkable in itself. The 2900B that sold for nearly $19 million was purchased by the owner's father in 1976 and had a total of 4 owners. Given that this model of Alfa Romeo represented the manufacturer's golden era, the price tag was not unexpected. Number 6. 1956 Ferrari 290 MM. The RM Sotheby's Los Angeles 2018 sale held at Peterson's Museum left the best for last, and it indeed was the best. Up for auction was a 1956 Ferrari 290mm with an estimated sale price of between $22 and $26 million. One lucky buyer drove it away for $22,500,000. This particular Ferrari, with chassis number 0628 by Scaglietti, was the last of 4 that Ferrari built. It's the only one of those 4 to exist still. But that's not the only reason not just anybody can get their hands on this car. It was piloted by many well-known factory team drivers, such as Peter Collins, Sir Sterling Moss, and Phil Hill. It also raced in some of the world's most prestigious events. Ferrari developed the car for the 1956 World Sports Car Championship as well as the Mille Miglia, for which it gets its MM initials. When the car was sold to a private buyer, Sir Sterling Moss raced it to victory in a memorial race and the Nassau Trophy race. He also competed in the 1957 Bahamas Speed Week. It then ended up in private collections until it was sold for its near record-breaking price. Number 5. 1954 Mercedes-Benz W196 Silver Arrow. Before World War II, Mercedes-Benz had only been at the pointy end of high-level motorsport once, but that was about to change. In 1954, they returned to the grid with the intention of winning the World Sports Car Championship and World F1 title. They were aiming high, and it might have seemed a little bit too confident given how little experience they had. But they had an ace to play, and that was the 1954 W196 Silver Arrow. That arrow shot straight to victory, and Mercedes-Benz achieved their goal in 2 short years with 12 GP wins. So they shut everything down and had no further racing aspirations in this respect. The quick entry and exit into the racing scene meant there were only 14 of these cars ever made. 10 of those still exist, but 3 are in museums and 6 sit within the confines of Mercedes-Benz. Where's the other? The only privately owned Silver Arrow sold at auction at the Goodwood Festival of Speed sale in the UK in 2013. An anonymous telephone buyer snapped it up for $31.6 million. We guess you can put a price on one of the most successful race cars of all time after all. Number 4. Rolls-Royce 15 horsepower. It can be quite awkward when you pull up beside a car that's identical to yours or see one in front of you at a set of traffic lights. But for the owners of the 15 horsepower Rolls-Royce, that's never gonna happen. Out of 6 produced, only 1 now exists. Charles Rolls and Henry Royce agreed on 4 cars to be manufactured and sold in 1904. They were 10, 15, 20, and 30 horsepower. They were sold as chassis and engines, but purchasers had to arrange their own bodywork. All new models were unveiled at the Paris Salon in December 1904, but the chassis for the 15 horsepower was incomplete because the 3-cylinder engine was not ready. As it turns out, creating the 3-cylinder engine was not as easy as the others. Each cylinder had to be crafted separately, which may be why only 6 of them were made. Today, there is only 1 in existence, making it one of the rarest cars of all time. Number 3. 1957 Ferrari 250 Testarossa. What would you do with $39.8 million? If you were a car collector, you might look at purchasing a 1957 Ferrari 250 Testarossa. The unrestored car sold for this price in 2014, making it one of the most expensive cars ever sold. Its history, fame, rarity, and immaculate condition gave it a helping hand. The Ferrari has a chassis number of 0704, which means it's a prototype that existed before the rest of the Testarossas went into production. It debuted at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1957, but didn't finish. However, it won races in Sebring and Buenos Aires with Formula One world champion Phil Hill behind the wheel. This particular Testarossa is one of just 34 in existence, which leaves little wonder why it costs tens of millions of dollars to buy. Number 2. Ferrari 250 GTO. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, So if you were the person who finally managed to get your hands on a Ferrari 250 GTO from 1960, you'd likely be overjoyed. In 2018, one of 39 Ferrari 250 GTOs ever made sold for $48.4 million at auction. There was a bidding frenzy for 10 minutes, with 2 phone bidders putting offers in of $1 million increments. Finally, the lucky new owner got their hands on something rare, beautiful, and with a rich history. This very Ferrari was the third of its kind to be produced, and former F1 world champion Phil Hill tested it in the Targa Florio of 1962. It went on to win there 2 years running. The car was sold with its original gearbox and engine and a Series 2 body. It was previously owned by Gregory Whitten, who wished the new owner plenty of enjoyment with it. Number 1. Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. If you thought the lost city of Atlantis would be a show-stopping find, then ask any Bugatti enthusiast about the Type 57 Atlantic Coupe, chassis 57453. To find this missing car would be like discovering the cure for cancer or, well, finding the lost city of Atlantis. Around 800 Bugatti 57s were built between 1934 and 1940, making it the most popular Bugatti model produced. But within that Type 57 category was the Type 57 Atlantic Coupe, a renamed model in memory of Jean Bugatti's friend, aviator Jean Mormoz, who was the first to fly across South Atlantic and had died at sea. Jean Bugatti, the son of Ettore Bugatti, produced just 4 of these cars. 3 are accounted for, but 1 is nowhere to be found. If it's discovered, it could be worth as much as $114 million. The Type 57 Bugatti is unlike any of the manufacturer's other models. It has a low chassis and a magnesium alloy body that couldn't be welded. Instead, it had vertical seams to connect each panel. Bugatti became well known for this style and even used it on panels that they could weld when they made the switch to aluminum. The missing number 4 car was known as Le Voiture Noir and was used in promotional materials. It was gifted to Jean Bugatti but passed between various race car drivers after his death. By 1941, it had disappeared completely. Some say it was hidden away once Germany invaded France. It may still be in hiding today. These vehicles are a far cry from your regular Honda Civic or pickup truck. We're curious, have you ever seen any of these in person? Have you attended an elite car auction? Let us know in the comments. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.